Now, so far, I haven't taught you anything that you probably didn't already know. You knew that if you exercised, your muscles got bigger and stronger. Maybe you didn't understand the physiology behind it, but you understood the basic concept. Now here's where things get fun. Over the past decade, molecular biologists have uncovered some interesting facts regarding cellular aging. It turns out that this rejuvenative process that we've been talking about, well, it's not just limited to the muscles. No, this cocktail is actually released into your bloodstream. And what that means is that when you exercise, this cocktail is taken everywhere your blood goes, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, to your brain, your kidneys, your heart, your liver, even your prostate. You know what? The blood vessel walls themselves even benefit from this process. Now there's an implication here. What is it? Simple. Exercise benefits every single cell in your body. Let's talk about two major diseases that kill more Americans than anything else. That would be cancer and cardiovascular disease. We touched on cancer a little bit, and we'll talk about that in a little while. Right now, let's take a look at cardiovascular disease. This would include congestive heart failure, heart attack, stroke, hypertension, peripheral vascular disease, and many more. For now, let's talk about hypertension or high blood pressure. Hypertension is known as the silent killer because it damages your organs and your tissues without you even knowing it. Now, there are two ways that your body controls blood pressure. One way is through your kidneys. The other way is through the integrity of your blood vessels themselves. Let's talk about your kidneys. Your kidneys can release hormones that will either increase or decrease your blood pressure. The other way that your blood pressure is controlled is through the integrity of the blood vessel walls themselves. When your blood vessels become stiff and narrow, your blood pressure goes up. You've heard the term hardening of the arteries. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Picture yourself holding a garden hose. You turn the water on. The water comes out. What happens when you put your thumb over the opening? The water comes out real hard, doesn't it? Well, that's what happens when your blood vessels become narrow. That pressure inside works on the inner walls of your blood vessels, destroying them and destroying the organs that it feeds. So if we can keep our blood vessels clean and free flowing, especially those that innervate the kidney, what's that going to do for us? It's going to decrease your odds of getting hypertension. Let's talk about your heart. You have coronary arteries that feed your heart. What if we can keep those arteries clean and healthy? What's that going to do for you? Decrease your chances of having a heart attack. Your brain is one of the most vascular organs in your body. If we can keep that freeway of blood vessels clean and free flowing, what's that going to do for you? It's going to decrease your odds of having a stroke. Not only that, the latest studies show that vascularity of the brain is related to Alzheimer's, dementia, and depression. Now, there are other risk factors, including your age, your gender, and your family history. But exercise is something that you have control over. You know what the word mortality means? Well, it's a fancy word for the odds of you dying. You want that number to be low. Exercise never brings that number up. Exercise always lowers your mortality. So, knowing what you know now, what are the ramifications of ignoring the rejuvenative process of exercise? Well, that's simple. Your mortality goes up. Now that everyone in the room has decided they want to exercise, how do you go about formulating an appropriate exercise program for you? Well, the first thing you want to do is go to your primary care physician and get a full physical, including a cardiac workup. Second, you want to seek the advice of a health professional, a physical therapist, or a highly qualified personal trainer. We know things you don't know, so don't waste your time doing an exercise program that's not going to work. But let's just say that you're a savvy individual You know a lot about exercise and you want to do your own thing. Fine. What's the one exercise that you need to make sure you include in your program? It's a trick question. The exercise you need to include is the one that you enjoy. Because if you don't enjoy it, you'll never stay faithful to it. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be one of the big three: running, biking, swimming. It can be yoga, walking, martial arts, aerobics, tennis. Anything that's an activity will work. The other thing you need to consider is that you want to cross-train. What does that mean, cross-train? Well, you can't just do the same exercise every day the same way. Your body will get used to it, you'll plateau. You need to throw a bit of confusion and chaos at your muscles. So what I suggest is that you have several different workouts. But let's just say that you're an individual that only likes to walk. No problem. One day, walk 2 miles at a brisk pace. The next day, slow it down, but take 2-pound dumbbells and do curls as you walk. The next day, go find some hills and walk them. The next day after that, go down to the beach and walk on the soft sand. There's 4 workouts in one. Let's say that you're a gym rat. You just like to do exercise in the gym and lift weights. No problem. Just don't do 3 sets of 10 every day. Vary the amount of weight, vary the resistance, vary the amount of repetitions, and vary your speed. And there you go. You've got 4 or 5 different workouts in one. Your body releases endorphins. This is your brain's natural opiates, and it can't help but make you feel good. What else can you do other than exercise? Well, we need to talk about your nutrition, but before we do that, I have to say one thing. Diets don't work long term. We all have friends or relatives that have been on some diet, lost all kinds of weight, but you know what? They never keep the weight off, do they? Why is that? Well, the word diet, it connotates temporary, doesn't it? It's also code for deprive. I'm depriving myself of fun. I'm depriving myself of the things that make me feel good. It just doesn't work long term. You know what works? Lifestyles. We're going to talk about a nutritional lifestyle that's guaranteed to work for you. The first thing we're going to talk about is that you need to eat foods as close to their natural state as possible. What does that mean? You go out and pick an orange off a tree, that's as close to its natural state as possible. When you eat a Ritz cracker, it had to go through layers of processing to become a Ritz cracker, so that's really not very close to its natural state. The next thing to consider, eat as many colors as you can during the day. Different colored foods have different nutrients in them, and that's how you can cover the broad spectrum of minerals and vitamins that you require. Now, what I don't want is for you to call me and say, Dave, I just knocked off 5 colors. I ate a bag of peanut M&Ms. That doesn't count. The next thing you want to consider is that you want to try to buy produce that's in season. I don't want to eat a strawberry that's been sitting in a warehouse in Argentina for the last 3 months. It doesn't taste good, there's no nutritional value left, and Lord knows what grew in it during those 3 months. I like to buy from local farmers if I can, because that way my fruit and my produce is as fresh as it can possibly be. The next thing you need to do is a bit controversial. I want you to make meat a side dish, not your main course. If you studied physiology as much as I have, you would know that we were designed to eat grains, fruits, and vegetables. Now, we do have the enzyme to break down meat, but we were definitely not designed to eat meat. In the wild, carnivores have sharp fangs and short gullets. We have squared off teeth and 75 feet of intestine. We are perfectly built to be vegetarians. I'm not saying you need to be a vegetarian, I just want you to limit the amount of meat you're going to eat. Now, for those of you that think you need a tremendous amount of protein every day, you're wrong. Look at rhinos. They're vegetarians and they have more muscles on them than you'll ever have. Trust me, you don't need to eat as much meat as you are now.